G'day Crustacean Nation, Surfronald here with another video. Blake's Aquatics was kind enough to send me some microworms with his shrimp shipment that I received today. And this is my first time actually keeping microworms. I have been pretty keen on them. We're going to have a look-see into how to set up a little tub or culture for them. If you want to know what's going on with the hashtag PrawnGotWorms, I'll leave a link down below to a stream where that sort of took off. But microworms are definitely a great food for your fish, and I really do want to start feeding them to my guppies, my bedders, and even my shrimp might have a munch on them. So let's get into it. So like I said, this is actually my first time starting a culture of microworms. So I'm going to be going for the oats in this case. I don't actually have any yeast, but you're meant to start off with some yeast of some kind that you can add in, and that's what the microworms actually eat. There is some yeast in this little bag though, so hopefully I can transfer it in. So to start off, you are going to need a microworm culture, some sort of food, so you can use anything that's really starchy. Most cereals like Weet-Bix or oats, things like that. Another one people use is potato, like dried powdered potato. There's a few other things people can use, but I'm just going with the oats. So feel free to follow me along and use this. You're going to need a container. This is probably a bit bigger than I probably should, but it's what I had. And they do need some air holes in them. This one already came with air holes, which is really handy. And you are going to need, of course, a bit of lukewarm water to mix it all up. And from what I've seen, it is pretty easy to start up. You should be able to get a microworm culture like this from your local fish store, pet shops maybe. Even online, there's a bunch around, and maybe even a friend in the hobby might have some. So just ask around or try and find them. They're pretty cheap as well, like $5 to $10, depending on where you get them from. And it's pretty easy to set up from what I have seen. So you want to start off by adding your starchy food to your container. So I'm going to go ahead, just rip into these ones, pour them on in. I'm actually not a big fan of oats, so I'm just going to go ahead and use as many as I want. So I thought I was going to need 2 packs, but I think that's worked alright. It's a pretty nice layer of oats there. Just going to shake it down a bit. So up next you want to add a bit of your lukewarm water. I recommend adding it in slowly, just like little bits at a time to try and make sure you get the consistency right. You do want more of a pasty consistency than a runny watery consistency, so try and aim for that. So I'm just going to attempt to pour a bit of this water in. Like I said, don't pour heaps in at the start, just a bit of a splash. And I thought that might happen. So you just want to give it a bit of a mix, try and just spread the water around, see how it is. This is not going to be enough, but it's good to just do a small amount, I think. So I think I'm going to go ahead and add half of this bag. I guess I can use the other half in a future culture or when I reset this one. So I'm not too fussed. I just want to make sure it is covered all along the bottom. And obviously if I'm adding a bit more of that in, then I have to add a bit more of my lukewarm water. And of course make a mess in the process. So I think this is a really good consistency. It's not too runny and it's not too dry, it's nice and moist. So I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to go ahead and add in pretty much everything from that bag. I don't think I'm going to keep anything in here because this is just sort of for our shipping. Now I can't say it smells the most appetizing, so if you don't want it to be smelling up your place, find a sort of secluded place to store it. I am going to be storing this probably in my garage and just check on it and steal from it whenever I need. So I'm just going to go ahead and pour the whole bag in here. I really hope this doesn't drip anywhere because it's going to gross me out. I'm not a fan of worms. And there we have it. That was disgusting footage that I really don't want to have to edit. I'm going to mix this in a little bit, I think. This is sort of just my idea. I didn't really see anyone else doing this, but I'm sure this helps. Good little mix. Like I said, I do believe Blake was using Weet-Bix, so he has a bit of a different consistency to me there. But the extra moisture is going to make mine a bit pastier, which is what we want. So there we have it, all mixed in. Hopefully a few worms got in there, and hopefully a bit of that yeast got in there to start off. So a couple of other tips I've seen about microcultures is you want to refresh them and redo them every couple weeks or every 3 weeks, just to make sure it stays fresh and the food doesn't go off and stuff like that. and make sure you've got some fresh microworms going. Another little tip a lot of people say is to have two going at once, so if one does happen to die off, you can just start up another culture. So probably in a week's time I'll start up a second one and get that going, as long as this works well. I am going to be buying some yeast. I just didn't have any at the moment. I thought I'd better get this going as soon as possible. So definitely recommend getting some yeast, because they do eat and thrive off of that. But yeah, I'm going to do a bit of a time travel jump, and we'll see you in the next clip. So this is like an hour later. Not as big as a jump as I thought it was going to be, but as you can see, the worms are getting up there. This is what they do. They sort of like climb up away from the food and sort of hang out maybe an inch and a bit above and through. So it's a good sign that they're sort of up there building up. That means that they're sort of happy, I would assume. But as I said, I'm going to keep an eye on these guys for maybe a week and see how it goes, and show it off. So it's a few days later, about 4 days, and this is what we're looking at. So just there, it's hard to see, just above my thumb there's a bit of a worm city starting, and they are growing up and they're breeding. I didn't get any yeast, but I do need to get some yeast for these little fellas. But I think they're alright, and I think they're going to start building up a big colony of worms. So I'm pretty keen to get some worms going so I can feed them to my fish. So definitely stay tuned, because I'll probably do a live feeding of some kind. But I think these microworms are going to be really, really useful. And another massive thank you to Blake for sending them alongside my shrimp. So that'll do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you have some microworms, and if you have any tips or tricks for me on how to keep these little guys, definitely leave them down below. They seem to be doing alright, and I'm pretty keen to get a few colonies going and start feeding my fish some quality worm. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.